Welcome to Thrilling Moments. My name is Clay, and this segment is featuring the 2013 archery season. To give you a little bit about the beginning of the season, I started off harvesting a mature doe out at a property down by Edgerton that I just got permission on this year. It ended up being an interesting story. Took 2 arrows to shoot the deer. I got a high shot, first of all. Thought it was 25 yards, but it was really 20. Shot it above the spine, and she went up in the woods and hung out for a couple minutes, and then actually came back to her favorite apple tree. And I stopped her at 25 yards and put one right through her heart. Ended up finding her 40 yards from the shot. I was really thankful to get another opportunity. I definitely do not like wounding deer. The second deer I got this year was actually on my own property where I live. Spotted one feeding from my house out on an apple tree, and it was a spot and stalk hunt. So I got within 20 yards of it and put a perfect kill shot on it, and ended up finding that deer within 20 yards from where I had shot the deer. So it was a great year. The main reason we're making the film is because of a nice archery bow kill. So I called up the landowner and asked her about coming out again this year, and she said it was okay, she'd be happy to have me. And I ended up going out there that afternoon to meet some woodcutters on the property, kind of near my stand. Talked to them for a few moments, and they said they'd get out of there in about an hour, and that was perfect because it was good cover getting in, and I don't really think the deer mind people cutting wood. So I headed up to my stand, and the first clip you'll see is them traveling back through with their load of lumber, and obviously it didn't disturb too much of the wildlife. You'll check that out in a moment here. After hunting the spot for a few sets and seeing a couple does, I scoped out a more advantageous spot to set up my tree saddle. I was hunting in a climbing tree stand, so I decided to set up another stand a little bit further down the ridge, and the next time I hunted it was November 7th. In the morning, it was a morning hunt. I took off that Thursday, Friday to do some deer hunting, and I got up there, it was about 28 degrees. That morning the wind was perfect for my set. So this is the featured hunt of the segment, so I hope you enjoy. I got in the stand that morning about 20 minutes before light, and it was the first cold snap of the season, and I wasn't quite used to it, so about 2.5 hours later, I was peering off to the north, trying to look for another stand location to potentially move to in the future. And I caught some movement over that way, about 120 yards, and I could tell it was a deer. But I didn't know what part of the deer I could see. And then it was gone. And then I saw it again, and it went the other way. And I could tell it was a rack from there. So I immediately got on my rattling horns and did some grunting, tried to impersonate some deer activity up on the ridge. After the herd skirted me at about 50 yards away, the buck hung up down on the lower trail in the bottom at about 60 yards, and I tried some rattling and grunting to try and get him to come back up on the ridge, but he just ended up disappearing. About 10 minutes later, 3 other deer came right below me and headed down in the direction that the original herd came from, and then they ended up smelling where the buck and 4 does headed and followed them in that direction. Luckily, they took the close trail that was 17 yards away. After the does went by, about 10 minutes later, I heard some noise to my right, or to my west, down along the edge of the cornfield, and I could see this buck. He was grunting along the edge of the cornfield with a bush stuck in one antler and a corn stalk stuck in the other antler. So I go to grab my bleat call, and it falls out of my pocket onto the ground. I hit the record button on the camera and grab my grunt call.
Meh. Meh. Look at that guy. He's a brute. Fucking brute. I'm stoked on this beautiful morning. He's down.
So this is the buck I shot that day. I'd just like to thank Shirley Miller for letting me hunt on her property, and everyone that supported me in my hunting adventures or my thrilling moments this year. It's all tagged up and ready to go to Rob Hill at Nature's Image, and his number is 455-3108.